The sponsor of this episode is Chadwell Supply, an OG in the multifamily industry. Chadwell is the largest privately owned maintenance and repair supplier, and they deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. To find out how Chadwell Supply will make your day better, visit www.chadwellsupply.com/difference.
Hello, welcome to the Rooms with Ronald podcast, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington. In 2023, I set an intention to shop 100 apartment communities to see how leasing was evolving around the country. Rooms with Ronald was born out of that experience. In this series, I share my experiences and engage in meaningful conversations with other professionals in the industry as we discuss all things related to leasing and marketing. Join in as we expand the Rooms with Ronald experiment. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rooms with Ronald. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington, and I am so excited for today's episode. This is the moment you have all been waiting for. Rooms with Ronald came about because last year I decided I wanted to shop 100 apartment communities across the nation, looking at the leasing experience. I started tracking all the data. I have some quantitative data on an Excel sheet where I'm over here just doing numbers. And then some qualitative data, which is my storytelling that I made on my phone. And today, listeners, is the day where we're going to dissect all of this information. So that's where we were. So let's talk about where we are right now. We are in August of 2024, so all the days compiled. I have spoke about this at the National Apartment Association's conference, Apartmentalize. There was a sneak preview of that. If you did not listen into that, Leasing Across America, jump to that episode real quick to get caught up. I was joined by Stephanie Anderson of Grace Hill and Christy Fickert of Leasing. So we presented that. And then what's really cool, if you did not know this, we made an ebook. Grace Hill partnered with Rooms with Ronald and Real to produce an ebook that is out now. You can go to the comments on my LinkedIn page and you will find that ebook there. Stay tuned for more on that in the near future. Well, here we are. I am ready to talk data from the shops. I have kept this very close, and we did not have enough time at the Apartmentalize session to dive into all the data. But because I am a podcast host, I get to dive in deep now. So here we are. Let's jump in. I completed 101 shops starting in March all the way through to December of 2023. And out of those shops, 101, I did it in 13 different cities. And some of those cities include North Carolina, Texas, Massachusetts, Nevada, California, Indiana, Georgia, New York City, Arizona, Ohio, Kentucky, Florida, and the great state of Washington, just to name most of them, I believe. Cities that I included, so there was 28 different cities that I looked at. Miami, Indianapolis, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Sarasota, San Diego, Seattle, Louisville, Austin, Texas, Cincinnati, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Muncie, Indiana, Tucson, San Marcos, Carmel, Las Vegas, New York City, and Sacramento, along with Atlanta, suburbs, Huntington Beach, Sparks and Reno, and the Boston area, along with Fort Worth, Texas. So, as you can tell, I went all over the country. All over. Which should come to no surprise because I travel all the time. With that being said, out of the 101 shops, I was so cautious to make sure that I got a wide variety of property management companies. So much that I shopped 88 different apartment management companies across the country. Some you may know, like the Gray Stars and the Avenue 5s and Willow Bridge, Windsor, UDR, FBI. Some you may not know, like Town Properties, JMV Realty, IRT Living, AMC, the Lewis Management Company, Mill Creek, Book and Ladder, a wide variety of different management companies. And actually, out of the top 50 in NHC, I shopped 27 of those. So I did over half the top 50 property management companies in the United States, which was interesting. So I did 2 student housing properties just to see, because I think student housing is the future renters, right? So what we're seeing in student housing, those renters are going to expect coming out. That's the next generation of renters. So we need to be keeping a close eye on them. 49 were garden style, which is a majority of what my companies that I worked for managed, which is why the focus was on that as well. 32 mid-rise and 18 high rises. So as you can see, again, a wide variety of communities. What's interesting though is I was looking at the experience across the whole board. So I did 93 agent-led tours, 5 self-guided tours, and 1 virtual tour. And then I had 2 experiences where I had none of that because they refused to tour me. So I could not count that. Looking at the in-person agent-led experience, I found that my tour time was on average 23 minutes, with the shortest being 9 minutes and the longest being 45 minutes. Now, when I compared that to the self-guided tour, where I got to kind of go through my own pace, the self-guided tour was actually longer. It was a 25-minute self-guided tour. And that has to do with the walking of the amenities. That had to do with the number of apartment homes that was shown, all that. So that did lead to a little bit longer experience. And when we actually get to some of the other data, I think you're going to see why that impact is. So in person, I was actually shown on average 1.69 apartment homes versus the self-guided tour where I was 2.33. So I was seeing a few more of the self-guided homes versus the in-person homes I was seeing. So that led to some of that longer. I think when you look at the 2.33, one property had me see 5 different apartment homes, and then 2 and things like that. So that's kind of where we kind of dived in at. And I love self-service. Like, I want to be able to go to your website. I want to be able to book the appointment. I want to have all of this modern convenience at my fingertips. So that was one of the things I was tracking was, can I book the appointment online? Because it was 2023. There is no reason why we are not booking appointments online. And what I found is that 90 of them allowed me to book an apartment online, and 11 had me do it the old school, put in a guest card, wait for the response, and all of it. One big takeaway right there is the renters today want the convenience. If you already know that your property is not converting traffic from lead to tour, and you're not offering online booking, that's part of your problem right there. Because we know that 50% of the internet leads that come in go unresponded to. So if I can't make an appointment to come in and I have to put in a guest card and you don't respond to me, how am I going to come put money into your pockets? That is one of the biggest takeaways of today, right? Is make sure your prospects can book the tour online. We are used to that convenience. So let's kind of start there, right? So I got 90 people that allowed me to book the appointment online. The others went back and forth, the other 11. I did get 91 people confirmed my tour. So I had confirmation that I was coming to tour and all that. So I did find it interesting that the one person who put me into the system that I had to go back and forth with went ahead and sent me a automated message that says it's time for your tour. So when I got there, let's kind of, talk about the experience upon arrival. 5 people greeted me with a smile or acknowledge me when I walked in. A smile is not that hard, or a wave or something, but only 65 people did that. A lot of the attitude was, how can I help you? Like straight face, very cold, not warm and fuzzy. So to go along with that, only 44 people stood to greet me. So if you didn't smile and you didn't stand, I did not feel like I was welcomed. And there were many places I could tell you that I did not feel like I was welcomed. Kind of like the what do you want attitude. Now, some people are saying that the standing is old school. It's okay to be sitting at the desk. I'm a firm believer that it's not okay to be sitting at a desk because there are so many distractions. Like I walked into one property, the leasing agent did not stand to greet me. She had files all over her desk and she had an iPad on her desk. That was her personal iPad watching Netflix. Stand up, guys. Get them out of the desk. Don't do your business at the desk. It will help you build relationships. I'm going to call it here on Rooms with Ronald that the handshake is dead. Only 29 people shook my hand, which is fine. I think we now live in an age where that handshake isn't as important as it used to be pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, that was like a sign of conducting business, things like that. So this confirmed my philosophy that the handshake is dead. 29 people shook my hand, but it did not have a direct impact on the experience, right? So the people who shook my hand did not really have a more positive experience or a more negative experience. And a lot of times I think we kind of take our cues off of the other person and you don't know people's. The next one, the next question, I struggle with this the whole time. When I was on set, I used to have to like remind myself to do this. Did the leasing consultant introduce themselves during the initial introduction? 42 people did. So right from the get-go, I knew 42 people's names, which is less than half of the shots. So I'm making these relationships with people. I'm building this connection with these people. And a lot of times by the end of it, I didn't know their name. I would know their name when I got the follow-up email or I got a business card. And there were a good handful of people who I did not know at all. Like they failed to reduce. So if this is you on site, do what I do. When someone comes in, say, welcome home. I'm so glad you're here at ABC Communities. Are you so-and-so, whoever you're expecting? And say, my name is Ronald. I'm so excited to show you around. Like, get it at the beginning. Like, get in that habit. Name tags are becoming less and less. People are not introducing themselves. So how do you expect someone to build a relationship with you if they don't know your name? And it's awkward at the end of the whole thing when you say, would you like to apply for the apartment? Because you built this relationship, but you don't know the name. So please introduce yourselves. People like to know who we're talking to. I can't tell you, I go to restaurants, I go to banks, I go to Starbucks. Everyone has a name badge on. They tell you their name, all of that. So get in that habit. I was glad to see that 84 people did obtain my name and then they did use it throughout the whole, presentation. And trust me, guys, I hate my name, but I felt special when they started to use my name. I struggled with this one. Hear this next question because I think we are so immune to the day in and day out of what we do that we don't realize that housing is a human basic need and that this human basic need needs to be met. And when that need isn't met, there's some emotions and things like that. So the question is, did the leasing consultant make a positive first impression and appear genuinely interested in helping you? That was less than half. 45 people only made a positive first impression. And trust me, I wasn't looking for the red carpet to be rolled out. I wasn't looking for, things like a smile. Did you greet me? Like, Were you interested in who I was? Anything like that that gave me an indication that you cared about me as a person, I counted it. And only 45 people made that a positive impression on me. Majority of the time, it was a number. What do you want? Get in, get out. If you lease here, great. If you don't lease here, great. I don't care either way. I'm here to collect a paycheck. So please, please be sure like you're hiring people and you're in this mindset that you're here to help. We are in a people-centric industry. We have to take care of people, and that means helping people. Not everyone's situation is going to be the same. There has to be a level of care and attentiveness to these people who are coming in. Did the leasing professional or consultant determine how you knew about the property? 21 people asked me how I knew about the property. A lot of times, I just went to their property website. I Googled, went to their property website, and went from there. No one asked, how did you hear about our property? Especially knowing that when I was coming out of state, which is a big one, right? Well, if I went directly to your property website, I had to find about you somewhere. And I had to do something. If I were calling, it would be a little bit different, I think, because a lot of properties have these lead tracking numbers and all of these different situations. So go back to the foundation and make sure people are asking that so you know where you can spend your money. Now let's get into these kind of closed-ended questions, right? Or what I call the basic questions. Of course, overwhelmingly, everyone asked me my move-in date, right? Well, 95 did, or they confirmed it from what I put it online. 99 asked me about the size of the apartment. 35 asked me my price range. So a lot of these people didn't even know what I was looking to spend. My contact information was never confirmed or asked for, but my phone number was 27 people asked me for my phone number or confirmed my phone number, and 26 with the email address, which is expected because I did put it online a lot of times, but that confirmation would have been nice just to see what that is. And then pets. Only 65 people asked me about pets, if I was bringing a pet with me. And I always talk about my dog. My dog is the cutest. He might make an appearance at some point tonight because that is just what he's doing. He likes to jump up and get on camera. However, only 65 people asked me that. And when they did, what I saw happening was people started to say, will you be bringing any pets with you? And I'm like, yeah, I have a dog. And they're like, oh, well, is it an emotional support animal or a service animal? If it is, we don't have to pay them. I'm like, no, it's a pet. They put this idea into my head that I could get the fees waived. And they were kind of guiding me on what I needed to do to make it an ESA or a support animal. We cannot do that, guys. Please don't do that. Have the conversation. If you ask if it's a pet and they tell you it's a pet and you go over everything and they say, oh, no, never mind, it's a service animal or emotional support animal, they say that's a different conversation. That's plain and simple, right? Switch the gears, but have the conversation about the fees and everything until they tell you it's not a pet, it's something different.
Chadwell Supply is the proud sponsor of the Multifamily Media Network. Chadwell Supply is the largest privately owned MRO supply company and is committed to the multifamily industry. They deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. Chadwell Supply offers valuable resources such as maintenance training, a dedicated renovations team, and procurement platform assistance, ensuring multifamily properties operate more efficiently. Partnering with Chadwell Supply helps communities stand out in an increasingly competitive market. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com/difference.
Then what I found interesting on this journey is that I always left the number of occupants blank on the guest cards because I wanted to see what they would do when I got into the apartment. However, only 17 people asked me how many people would be living in the apartment home. And I'm only looking for a 1-bedroom, maybe a 2-bedroom, but they never asked me. They assumed because I was by myself, that was probably just for me, and never asked me that. Again, never make that assumption. Always ask how many people are going to be in there so you know if I want a one bedroom, especially in today's landscape of apartment leasing, more and more people are living together. We're getting more and more roommates. And there are some people who are trying to do 2 and 3 people to a bedroom to save money. And we need to be able to identify that to build that relationship. So when they go to apply, all of a sudden you don't have to be the bad guy and call and say, hey, I know you applied for a one bedroom for you and your 3 friends. 4 people, unfortunately, can't be in a one bedroom. So set yourself up for success in the beginning. Did the leasing consultant determine specific needs or preferences? No, they did not. 39 people actually did. 39 asked, what my needs, what my preference were. They kind of dug a little bit deeper. And I took things like, what's important to you in your new apartment home? Or, what is one thing that you have to have? Asking this question moves you from an order taker to a salesperson. And actually, I remember there was one person when I toured in Texas that said to me, we were talking about specific needs, and he said to me, probably his third question, what's on your hit list? And I was kind of taken back from for a moment. I was like, my hit list, that was just an odd way to say that question. And I think he knew my wheels were turning because he's like, what do you have to have in your apartment? So I went in and I kind of explained that to them, right? What was most important to me? You can't personalize a tour if you don't know my needs or my preferences. You're giving a standard tour, which means why are we paying you? We need to be customer centric focused on this. That experience really matters, which should not come to a surprise to you. Did the leasing professional create a connection? Or if you're old school, we called that rapport. But again, I hate the word rapport. I think it sounds like a lot of work and no one knows what that means. But only 45 people try to build that connection and ask me, what are you doing? What brings you to the area? I also think it's kind of funny that the quickest way to build that connection is when I handed them my ID. A lot of times I would hand them my ID. I'm from Indiana, so my Indiana's driver's license, and I would be in all these other different states, and they would grab it, they would put it on their desk, or they would, put it in the manager's office, wherever they put it. And then we'd be on the tour and be like, so are you from this area? This area? And I'm like, no, I'm relocating. It's not that hard, right? I had a story in my head that I was ready to talk about what was bringing me to the area, what I did for work, all of that. But only 45 people asked me or even tried to make that sort of connection. So prior to the tour, 73 people discussed a specific apartment with me. A lot of times, it was just, okay, well, here's apartment 101 because it was a one bedroom and it's by your move-in date and that's what we're looking for. Things like that, drove me crazy because I was like, you already told me. And then they've already told me the price. So, now they're building the value of the price after we toured, and all I could think about was the price. Or they were talking about, fees. They went over all the fees at the beginning, which drives me crazy. Or they do it all at the end. So all I felt like at the beginning was I was calculating in my head how much it was going to be total. Or when at the end, I was like, man, they're nickel and diming me on everything. So be mindful when you're talking about specific apartments. Be sure that you got their preferences and their needs so you can talk about the one that meets it so you can sell the value easier. Also, be sure that in your fee structure that you're talking about what each one of those means, how it feeds into what's in it for me, how it feeds into the price, all of that in full transparency. Which then I kind of thought, I started to look at, did they try to do some trial closing or ask me some feedback questions? And only 30 people did. Questions like, what do you think about this space? Do you see yourself using the gym? Again, we're just going through the motions a lot of time that it felt. Only 6 people mentioned the office and or service team. These are our biggest selling factors, guys. And yet only 6 people asked me out of 101. That's like 5%. Sold their office or the service team. We know a majority of people move because of maintenance. And I'm not saying that you have to rave about your maintenance, but talking about them, how long they've been in the industry, how long they've been at the property. One property I saw had magnets on the refrigerator of all their service people and their office staff, and that's how they talked about it. Use these people to your benefit. I want to know who's coming into my apartment, who I'm going to take care. And if you listened to the podcast with Leah Nicole earlier this year, we talked about some bold predictions in 2025 from Gen Z, and they're looking for hyper personalized care. What that means, they want to know who is taking care of them. So if you're not finding ways to incorporate service or office staff into your team, find a way to do it today, because that is going to set you apart, as you can see from any of your competition. Our 29 people asked me about or talked to me about their resident events and were selling that lifestyle to me, what it meant for me going into their apartment community, which meant I was moving from out of town. I wanted to meet people. If you don't know my personality type at work, it is a tiger. I am loud. I am social. I'm a butterfly in these kind of settings because I want to meet people. But only 29 people kind of talked about their resident events. And a lot of times it was, oh yeah, we do resident events. They didn't give me examples of one. Actually, I had one in the Reno area invite me to a resident event that night to see some of the people, interact with people as a selling technique. So I thought that was really good. Let's talk about what I was shown. Let's talk about these apartments. So out of 101, only 56 were made ready and clean. Like when I say made ready, move-in ready. There were dead bugs in most of them. A couple looked like the people had just moved out. They hadn't turned it yet. It's not that hard. It was a bad first impression. We don't want that. We want to show these apartments that are clean and ready to move in, because that's what I'm going to remember. You don't want to be remembered for the bad. You don't want to be remembered for the property that I toured that had puppy pads and diapers in the bathroom, or the dead bugs in there, or the tub that need to be resurfaced, like all of that. So make sure that they are move-in ready. And I wanted to see, are we selling models still? Are we showing vacants? Because we know Gen Z wants to see actual lived-in apartments and not models. And 35 communities, I was shown a model and then a vacant apartment at 74. And sometimes I saw both. I saw a vacant and a model. I love showing models because I think it's easier to sell and visualize in. What I did find interesting is early on in the year, I was seeing a lot of vacants, which would explain with, high occupancy, high rent, high demand, and low supply. But there at the end of the year, probably during the end of third quarter into all the fourth quarter, I did see a rise back into seeing models, which told me that owners were panicking that people weren't renting anymore because they didn't have a model, which, does not go against what I stand for, right? People had options for the first time. They had 550,000 new units delivered last year. So we had options, but you get owners who start to freak out and say, oh my gosh, we have to bring back the models. People need to see the models. Only 14 people displayed enthusiasm for the product and used descriptive language while touring, meaning, do you see your bed fitting in this room? This is our renovated apartment, or this is our upgraded, things like that. There was not a lot of enthusiasm about the property. What I did notice is that the enthusiasm that was there was a lot of times with the high rise. They were proud of their high rise, they were maybe the newest in the town or things like that. And then we come to the closing. And when I say closing, I mean, was I asked for the sell? Meaning, would you like to apply for this apartment? Or would you like to start an application? That is what I mean. Not the new way of, well, if you want to apply, you can. You're going to, go and to our website. You're going to do that. No, that's not asking me to apply. meaning, would you like to apply for this apartment? Only 11 people asked me that. 11. 1. Everyone else didn't care either way. And let me tell you, 2 of the 11 were actually from my self-guided tours. One of the companies that I self-guided toured had an app, and when I got done with the apartment that I was seeing, every time before I got to the next apartment, in the app, it would say check out. I checked out of that apartment. It would say, would you like to apply for this apartment? I said no. It took me to the next one. I said yes, and then had me go start the application process. Technology helped us there. Humans weren't doing that, but the technology did. And then the other one, I was texting with someone as I was in the apartments in case I had questions and things like that. And at the end of it, about 5-7 minutes into the tour, they was like, what do you think? I said, this apartment looks nice, blah, blah, blah. They said, do you want to start the application process via text? Which made it not as confrontational. But those were both self-guided tours. That was working. If you know your people aren't doing that, find a different way. Maybe it's an automated, AI bot that on the tour, it sends them a text message at the end of it, or as soon as the show gets done, they enter the show, you're listening it in the show, the AI sends, so glad you were able to tour at our property today. Would you like to start the application process? We have to get better about making sure prospects feel like they want to be there. And if you're not going to ask me to apply for the apartment, at least ask me or discuss with me the next steps. What should I expect? That, this quote can be honored for 48 hours. I'm going to send you a link. I'm going to follow up with you in a day or two. Whatever the next steps are, knowing that I'm going to leave here, discuss that with me so I know. Then I was selfish and I was starting to be curious about going green and all the green initiatives. Were we still handing out marketing collateral? Are we still giving out that marketing collateral? And overwhelmingly, yes, we are. We still are. 79 people actually are that I toured gave me marketing collateral, which is great. But I want to challenge you because there are people, especially Gen Z, coming up who may not want the paper. Have a digital option available. And maybe at some point during your tour, maybe whenever you give out that marketing collateral, some people gave it out at the beginning, so I had it in my hand as I was walking. Some gave it out at the end. Maybe it's as simple as this. You ask the question, I know you're touring other places. You've already said that. Would you prefer a physical copy of our marketing material that has the floor plan, our amenities, whatever it is that you're offering? Or would you prefer, and no one's asking that, but yet it's a simple way to win. So maybe that's how you do it. And then I looked at business cards because I was super curious, are we seeing that? We see such a high turnover. Is that a cost that's being eliminated? And I think we're about a 50-50 mix. 54 people asked me or gave me a business card. So I'm not sure we're there yet. I do see it coming and kind of staying, but I see the generic email being on business cards for a long time. I think people still want that aspect, which was nice in a lot of cases for me because that's how I learned my leasing consultant's name was by the business card. And then after the tour, and I mean at any point after the tour, not just post 24 hours. I mean, you could have followed up with me anytime after the tour. Only 56 people followed up with me after this tour. Sometimes it was 24. And actually, I'll tell you, 49 people followed up with me in 24 hours. So that means that 7 people didn't waited more than 24 hours, but only 56 overall followed up with me, which means we have a lot of work to do. 5 to 12 follow-ups is what it's taking for people to apply for the apartment, but yet only 56 followed up with me, and that might have been at least one time. And then I got curious because I don't hear a lot about the telephone. I think I was seeing a lot of people scared of the telephone. I wanted to know how many of those follow-up attempts were actually people calling me. So out of the 56 communities that followed up with me, 32 actually picked up the phone and called, which was higher than I anticipated. The closing I was not shocked by, the made-ready apartments I weren't shocked by, the, order takers and not asking the basic questions, none of that shocked me. The telephone of 32 people shocked me. That did shock me. Well, guys, that is the data. That was the story from 2023 of what I was seeing. And I hope I gave you some fresh perspectives on things that you can do quick and easy to enhance the leasing experience for your prospects. And I wanted to end on the telephone because Rooms with Ronald is coming back on its secret shops bigger than ever this year. Starting here this month, we will be doing a phone shop. So we're going to call properties and see, are people answering the phone? Are people, what is that experience like on the phone? Because we know that's an important part of the process. And then we're going to also compare the phone with the virtual option. We had to be able to start meeting people where they're at. So on the phone, if someone can't come in and they can't come and tour you in person, how are you handling the objection of, I can't come in person, do you have a virtual tour? And it is my goal to collect the data to identify what we are saying is a virtual tour across the country, because there are a lot of people doing a lot of different things. And I want to make sure we can kind of consistently streamline that in what it is. So be on the lookout for monthly videos. My goal with this telephone and virtual shop is now, because I don't have to go anywhere, I'm going to be able to shop all 50 states. I want to shop all 50 states, at least 2 per state to see. So we're looking at least 100 different phone calls and however many virtual options to see. So follow along with me as we do this experience as well. But fear not, I will still be out and about shopping properties, giving you guys the latest scoops of what I am seeing out in the field as well. I hope you found this data insightful. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you forward it to your friends. I hope you take one action item and you start to implement that today. Until next time, guys, this has been Ronald Harrington with Rooms with Ronald. Happy leasing. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope I left you with some fresh ideas or a new perspective. Leasing and marketing are evolving rapidly, and Rooms with Ronald is committed to offering a place to hear about those changes. We also celebrate and acknowledge the fundamentals of exceptional service that will never go out of style. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, or subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other exceptional industry podcasts, thought pieces, and sponsorship opportunities.